Unbound, Chapter 36. Old George Cooper lifts little Willie into his arms, and Uncle Jim searches for Aunt Sarah. "You take Thomas," Aunt Sarah says. "I stayin' here." She looks at old George Cooper. "That's if you'll let me stay." Aunt Sarah's shoulders is narrow and bent, but she sets her back strong as Uncle Jim's. "I don't eat much, and I can keep out the snakes and other critters what comes in while you is out. I can protect runaways what stop and hide here too. They'll be lonesome and afraid. I can give 'em a kind word and the courage to keep going." Old George Cooper nods. "Be pleased to have the help. Beside, the roads ahead is difficult and dangerous. You is safer here." Everyone agrees Aunt Sarah should stay, even Mama. "It's your choice, Aunt Sarah," she says, her voice soft and steady. "It's your choice." "Mama, I thought you said we stay together." I turned to Aunt Sarah. "Don't you want to stay with us? Don't you want to keep going on to freedom?" Aunt Sarah brushes my face with her twisted, bony hand. "My sweet child," she says, "I done found my freedom. Don't you hear your mama talking? It's my choice." She looks at Mama, then again at me. "In all my years, I never had my own choice." Aunt Sarah and Mama hold each other for a long time. "There's no words," Mama finally whispers. Aunt Sarah touches Mama's face with her knotty hands. "May the good Lord keep you," she says. Uncle Jim nods at Aunt Sarah, his solemn eyes telling her goodbye and promising her he'll take good care of us. He tugs Mama's shoulders. "Come on, Catherine," he whispers. "We need to go." It's my turn to say goodbye, and I wrap my arms tight round Aunt Sarah's waist to keep my sorrow from spilling out. Aunt Sarah reaches into her pocket and pulls out a tiny porcelain button. She presses it into my hand. "Remember me, Grace. Fight against him what thinks they can own you. Any way you can. Fight against 'em." "I won't ever forget you," I whisper. I put the button into my torn pocket and tie Mama's ribbon round Aunt Sarah's narrow wrist. Aunt Sarah smiles. Tears softening the crust was always stuck in the corner of her eyes. "Let's go," old George Cooper says. He nods at the gun standing in the corner. "Only if you have to, Sarah." Uncle Jim lifts Thomas into his arms. Silent, we file past Aunt Sarah. "Blessings," she whispers, kissing her hand and touching each of us as we pass. Grief quivers inside me like a butterfly that's dying in the grass. Outside, a silver shadowy moon flickers behind the clouds. A heavy mist wraps its dark arms round us. The air smells like pine and wet bark. Old George Cooper leads us, carrying Willie like a tobacco sack wrapped round his neck. Uncle Jim's next, with Thomas. Then there's me, holding whatever wrapped up supplies is left. A handful of berries, a slice of ham, some Johnny cake crumbs, and an almost dry bottle of blue. Behind me, I hear Mama whispering, asking the good Lord to help carry her heavy heart. I pray too. I beg the good Lord to keep away the dogs, patty rollers, and snakes. I beg him to watch over Aunt Sarah and guide us on our way to freedom. Okay, what would you call chapter 36? Chapter 37. Seems Mama's prayers is soft silver threads leading straight to the stars, leading right to the place where the good Lord and his angels listen and keep watch. My prayers is like Aunt Sarah's buttons, too, small and cracked to hold anything together but a broken heart. The good Lord don't care about fancy words, Mama said when she taught me to pray. You just give him your thoughts any which way you can. He'll listen and hold 'em safe. Tiny glimmers of moonlight shimmer on the path like angel wings, and I know the good Lord's trying to send me slivers of hope. But my family's still in danger. Much as I try to leave it behind, a quivering shadow of sorrow and shame follows me. We move so quiet. Seems we is all like the other creatures living in the woods. Seems we is part of the woods, part of the darkness what covers us, part of a pure, unspoiled world, a different world than the one Master Allen and the missus live in. Not a world of shiny silver or fancy dishes would come all the way from England. Not a world of whips, lashes, and angry words, but a different world. Even in the darkness, with creaky night sounds what frighten me, and a trembling fear of snakes what might be hiding in the grass. Even with broken buttons and sad goodbyes, even with my quivering shame, I feel part of another world, a beautiful world, a world that whispers freedom. We walk a long time. The only sounds is soft and ghosty, tiny crackles neath our feet. Mama's silvery whispers, the flap of wings and dark branches, and the tiny hoots and chitters of unseen creatures. I feel 'em all round me, like the good Lord's angels watching over us and covering our tracks. Under my feet, the earth begins to soften. Pain's thick here, old George Cooper explains. Gonna have to crouch or crawl. You'll be fine if you keep moving. We all need to keep quiet and keep moving. I feel the earth tugging at my feet, the giant stalks reaching to grab hold of me, and wonder if evil spirits is already making ready to swallow my soul. Keep moving, Mama whispers. Keep moving, I repeat. Finally, we stand at the edge of a large pond of stinking water, what must be full of snakes, flies, snapping turtles, and fearsome gators. Got to keep moving, old George Cooper says. Daylight's coming fast. He heads into water what's reaching just below Willie's sagging body. I hold my breath and step into the warm, buggy, foul-smelling pond. Beside me, my gown billows like dirty clouds. Everywhere, mosquitoes buzz and bite. Under the water, something soft and slimy wraps round my bare legs. I hold my breath and keep moving. We wade along, slow and even stepped, till without warning, old George Cooper changes directions. It feels like we circling backward and fear takes hold of me. Uncle Jim steps aside and nods for me to fill the watery gap. I turn round just enough to see him slip behind Mama. Don't be afraid, I hear him whisper. It's eyeing something else. It won't bother us if we don't bother it. Bother who? The only sounds, the soft plop and splash of water, the snap and flick of bugs nipping at the darkness. There's nothing round me but my own fears growing like mushrooms after a storm. And then I see what looks like a large log gliding next to us. Plunk! The log turns, and staring straight at me is a large, snubby snout what's got two orange eyes shining like circles of fire, and a row of pointy teeth what's waiting to devour us all. Old George Keeper keeps moving wide, paying the gator no mind. But I'm feeling faint, ready to slide underwater and disappear. Keep moving, Mama whispers in an angel voice. Don't look. But I do, and I do see. Hanging from the gator's mouth is a bushy-tailed ring, is a bushy ringed tail and two dangling paws. Keep quiet and keep moving. I'm only talking to myself, but it feels like I'm praying and the good Lord's answering. By the time we step out of the pond, daylight streams through the treetops. My dress sticks to my skin. My arms ache and itch. Clusters of welts as white as walnuts and as red as cherries form a wobbly ladder on my leg. Old George Cooper leads us to a small cave covered with branches, sticks, and a sheet of moss thick as the rug in the missus's bedroom. Thomas and Willie is still too drowsy to eat, but Mamma forces them to nibble the last of the berries. And we lie down in straw what must be crawling with chiggers. Before I know it, old George Cooper is standing over me telling me it's night time. Time to wake up. Time to move on. Okay, that is the end, of chapter 37. What would you call that chapter? Chapter 38. The blue bottle's almost empty, but Mama mixes whatever's left with drops of water from the canteen. Old George Cooper keeps strapped to his belt. Don't need much. We's not far from the lake. Dogs will lose the scent and paddy rollers won't cross lest they's already been tracking. Mama hurries me along, but it feels like iron chains is binding my legs. We slog for hours till finally the path begins to widen and we walk side by side. Moonlight glistens on a dark lake what's set before us like a shimmering piece of fallen sky. Old George Cooper flips over a log lying at the water's edge. Hiding in plain sight, he whispers. He smiles and nods, helping each of us step careful into a carved-out bark canoe. With a soft plink and quiet ripple, old George Cooper slips the canoe into the water and climbs inside. He sits at one end and Uncle Jim sits at the other. Mama and me sit in the middle, holding Thomas and Willie. Mama puts her hand on my shoulder. Be brave, Grace, she whispers, but ghostly words and warnings seem to rise from the dark water. People what goes to the big swamp don't come out. There's snakes and rats and big biting bugs. There's evil spirits what swallow the souls of wandering and runaways. Fear chokes me like the devil himself is catching hold of my throat. Silent as moonlight we glide into the forever water. Old George Cooper guides the canoe round a narrow bend, winding us farther away from the river bank, farther away from Mama's cabin in the big house, from Master Allen and the missus, farther away from Aunt Sarah and Aunt Tempy, from Anna and Uncle Moses, farther away from everything I knew. Farther and farther into darkness we drift, till before long we disappear too. Far off, a solitary cypress keeps watch, its ghostly silhouette rising from the dark water. The only sounds is the distant, lonesome squawks of the night heron, the tiny swash and ripple of our canoe, and the soft silver prayers Mama send into heaven. Above me, the stars sparkle low and bright. I reach in my pocket and squeeze Aunt Sarah's small broken button. I listen to the quiet and wonder what new world is waiting. And that is the end of the chapter. And it is the end of part 2. So go ahead and list and share what your titles would be for that chapter. And here is part 3. So look and see where the bird is now. Is it where you thought it would be? And what do you think it means with where it is now? All right. I am going to wait and start part 3 when you see me tomorrow. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to predict what do you think's going to happen in part 3. The only thing I'm going to tell you at the moment is that they do reach the other side of the lake and there is somebody there waiting for them who is going to help them. So you can have a class discussion with Mrs. Harriman, or you can choose to write down in your read aloud journal your own predictions. So, or you can kind of do both. But I would like to know tomorrow what you came up with. So I will see you then. So if there's still some time left over before it's time to switch, you can go ahead and read for pleasure. See you later.